Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Third video on the issue I'm facing on my 360 F1 gearbox transmission series. So we've narrowed down in the past two videos that we think there is a problem in the actual actuator itself. So what I want to do in this video is strip that apart, okay, show you all the internal gubbins of that, how it works, and see if there is a fault with mine. Okay, I want to, number one, obviously fix my car. Number two, share the knowledge of how this works. So in the past day, I've done a lot of research, spoke to a lot of very knowledgeable people. I'm going to share some links below of where I've read about this. But this is a kind of mythical beast in the Ferrari world, this F1 system. And a lot of people are so scared about it, and actually it's not over complex at all if you know some basics on it. So what I'm hoping to do is share some of that knowledge. Like I say, you'll see the inside of this, yeah, so hopefully that will fill you a bit more confidence that it's very simple. I'm going to talk around my knowledge of how this system all goes together, and then ideally my third outcome from this is, by taking this apart, we think there's a pin that's broken in here, so we're going to look at that. And ideally I would like to work with someone like Aldos from AV Engineering and Paul from Hills, and put some kind of like seal kit that we can rebuild these yourselves, or simple, because at the moment there's a couple of companies around the world that do a rebuild on these, but it's still quite expensive, and from what I can see it's just seals and stuff like that go wrong on these. So put some kind of kit together, and like the pin as well that breaks, the common problems with these, and so we can make it a lot cheaper to maintain and fix these actuators, if that's something you want to do. Anyway, I'm going to turn the camera around, give you a quick overview, and then take this off the car and we're going to strip it apart. Let's start our tour with what I would consider the brains of the system. So our TCU box in the back here sits behind the seat. That, like I say, is the computer that controls the system, all back there in the engine bay. Just to note here also the relay, the F1 relay, another common problem. I'll put a link in the video below to explain that and the upgrade that you can do on that one. Okay, next let's head into the engine bay and talk through the other components. So we've got our F1 fluid reservoir here, so you need to make sure that's up to level, and also change the fluid on a regular basis. Below that we have got the common problem F1 pump that goes wrong. Pump and motor there. That's about £200, just around about that, to change one of those, or to pick up that part, sorry. Also we have the power unit itself over here. This is the accumulator at the top. Again, I've seen that they go wrong. The problem with this is there is no individual parts for the accumulator, and also I can't really show you, but down here we've got the power unit itself. You've got some solenoids on the power unit that again go wrong, not sourceable or not orderable separately. But what we're going to try and do here is basically put together a thread or some common knowledge of interchangeable parts from other cars that use a similar system to this, yeah, that we can use on the Ferrari power unit. So we're going to put that, I'll put some links on the video below and also on the F-chat thread. Okay, next in the system we've got obviously all the hydraulic lines. They run down, and we've got the bumper off here, so let's have a look. Okay, so we're underneath the car here. So this is our F1 notorious gearbox actuator. Okay, and this is what we're going to strip apart today. We've got our hydraulic lines coming down. There's a couple of sensors on here. We're going to strip apart that and have a look at it. Okay, that is essentially the system. You've also got a block at the back that we saw on the previous video, and that goes to our release bearing in our clutch, our throwout bearing. So other than that, essentially this gearbox is exactly the same as a manual gearbox 3-pedal car. Okay, you can see inside here are our forks. So we're looking at the F1 system. I am gonna strip this apart now. We're gonna label everything up, and let's get into this little beastie and hopefully make everyone a bit more confident that these are not too bad. So I'm going to remove the actuator from the car. Like I said yesterday in the previous video, I removed it from the gearbox. So that was just our 8 7mm bolts that just secured it to the side there. And now we're going to start to label everything up. So all our hydraulic lines and our 2 sensors, one there, one at the end. Now 2 cables, I've just had a look, they run up, they come up the back here, run along the frame, and it looks like they are these 2 connectors here, so the grey one and the black one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the full cable off, so we've got the whole system out of the car. I'm going to start by doing that, then I get my oil tray. We're going to get a lot of fluid coming out, remove all the lines, and hopefully we should have it out of the car. Next job to make this reassembly much easier, all the lines have been labelled up. I've made my little diagram there. This might be wrong, I got this from a Maserati, but I've used the same thing. Just going to help me either way to put them in the right order when I put it back together. So all our lines, just for reference, run up to the solenoids on the power unit up here. So next we're going to disconnect those and cause a bit of mess. Everything's labelled up, ready to go back together in the right order. So let's start taking it apart. One other thing to note is the banjo connectors. Aldos has told me different sizes, so again we need to make sure that we make a note and label up those so they're put back in the right order. Okay, there you have it, all the lines are disconnected, the unit is free from the car, everything's labelled up, ready to go back on. So let's take this somewhere and start opening it up. Kitchen work surface, no special bench, no special tools. We have a 7mm and a T15, what I can see on the outside of this. So let's start cracking it open. I am going to take off the sensors. Then there's a few 7mm bolts around here that we are going to take off. I'm not going to bore you with that on the video. I'll take those off and then we'll split the thing apart. So our grey block is the sensor on the end, black block sensor underneath, just for reference. Okay, so that's our end sensor off. Check this out. Citroen Peugeot. With the part number. Put the link to the part number in the bottom. I'm sure that's cheaper than Ferrari. Okay, so that's our end sensor. See the other side of it there. Just keep the screws with it. Okay, and there we go, end of, not much to see there, all looks good, so let's take the other one off. Okay, second sensor, same again, Citroen Peugeot. So, those are 2 sensors. Okay. Now, from that came this. Okay. You can see the little shaft in there. Okay. Moves our sensor. Now I'm going to remove all the 7mm bolts from around the body there. And have a look. So we've removed 6 of the 7mm nuts there from around the body. The 2 sensors. And the only other thing I can see is the circlips at the end. Obviously we've got this as well we can remove. So we're going to remove the circlips next. So that's our 2 circlips removed from the end. Strip this down. So next I'm going to remove these. So I've just unscrewed them. 1, 2, and 3. So we'll check all 3 of those for the seals, just make sure they all look okay. So there's another tiny little circlip on the far end that I didn't see. Let's remove that. Okay, so that has fallen out. And I think this is my problem. There's the pin that is renowned to break. Let's get it open. Okay, finally, this one took me a while to find. There is 1 Allen bolt down that shaft. Okay, so down there. All right, so I needed my long ratchet screwdriver. I actually got a Torx bit on the end of this one. So I've unscrewed that, and this should come apart now. Okay, another thing I need to mention is before we can remove this from inside the shaft using our long-ended ratchet spanner. So that comes through the shaft, through the other end over here, and that screws into this part here. Okay, now before you can actually remove that, there is a small tiny grub screw just in there. You need a small Allen key to just release that. That obviously assists in holding this in place in the little channel. So that needs to be removed. Secondly, again, on the end here, so that came from in here. We have a 6mm, you need a 6mm flat open-ended spanner. That runs through, and you can see the other end of it here. So you can see it's threaded. Now, my broken part is this part. Okay, now the reason you need to remove that is if I remove the inside of it, there's a square part here that removes and it's threaded in there. So that all holds that together. And on top of that, there's one other thing. So there is this bolt here, this Allen threaded bolt that we need to remove, which that once that's in place, it goes into this hole and holds this from moving out. Okay, so that is everything to remove this thing. So there is, let's summarize, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws here that make the 2 bodies together. The circlips on the end, so there's 3 circlips or 6 bolts. We need to remove this in order to remove this afterwards. We need to undo this, which is our 6mm that holds this in place. And we need to remove this bolt from in here, okay, which sits in here, plus the grub screw in there. And that is how you get the thing apart. I will now explain the problem with this particular one of mine. Okay, so let's attempt to explain what has gone wrong with mine. So that sits in here. This is all together. Okay, so what's happened is this cam movement has stopped working. Now, the way it works is this little kind of shuttle, let's call it, sits inside this channel. It should normally have these 2 broken pins, either side, one there and one there. They then sit inside this channel, and once this shuttle moves up and down, up through here, we're moving this cam gear, okay? That then goes onto the cam gear over here, and that should give my up and down motion here. Now, if you look at the previous video, you can see this was jammed solid. The reason for that was that the pins were actually jammed in this channel either side. They hadn't come out into the internal mechanism, luckily, so they hadn't caused any damage there. They were just simply jammed in there. So we're going to replace this. What we're going to try and do is look at some way of remanufacturing something like this, because this is a weak point, and see if we can get something made up that we can replace these without spending an absolute fortune on the whole actuator itself. Only way of making something like this, I think, because you've only got the slot there and this pin needs to be inside here, yeah, there's no way of taking this apart. I think we would have to make some kind of threaded bar to go through here. And it looks like, if you look closely, you know, that bar is obviously put in afterwards and it's just a weak point. Okay, so let's have a quick look while we've got it all apart, just to show you all of the workings here. So internally we have, let's put it on its end like that. So this sits here, that pops out. There is another circlip there. I'm sure if I moved that, we could remove this whole bigger shaft if we had a leak there. Top one, and there is another circlip again there. Again, same, I could probably remove that. If I remove this shaft, because I've already removed these O-rings earlier, you can see I've got this. If we had any kind of leak up here, we could repair that. We've just removed that from here. There's a slight little O-ring on there as well. Nothing I don't think we could get hold of quite easily. Okay, so this side of things, we have got obviously the screw that we take out. I'll just put back in so I know what's going where. We have this little cam that sits in place. We've got the little washer that sits between that. No kind of seal here, so we can put that back on. Okay, so that is our movement with that, as you can see. Now I have removed that 13mm bolt on here, which I probably shouldn't have done, which enables me to move this mechanism on the shaft, so I've probably screwed that up, but it's for your benefit, not mine. Okay, next we got the shaft inside there, which we've got the movement from through here. Okay, so that will move this part. You can see that will have moved in there. The end bit we already discussed earlier, so there was a small circlip on there and a little O-ring seal in that channel there. Like I say, we've got that, and our sensor sits here, sensor sits on the end. Nothing else on that side, and nothing else on that side. I can't remove this. So that's it really. Hopefully that doesn't fail. There's not many parts that fail on here. Mechanically it looks quite well made, apart from our failing part here. So I can't see any reason why we couldn't quite easily put a little seal kit together with some circlips and a gasket to put it back together, and then, like I say, the common part with these pins that shear off. Let's do it. Okay, so time to wrap this one up. Hopefully you found it useful. I will say at this point that is not the end of it. Once I've rebuilt this, you will need to run through a few things. So you need an SD2 or an SD3 or an aftermarket Leonardo system to be able to bleed this, run the fresh fluid through it, run a few tests to find like home positions and things like that of the actuator, the optimal positions, before it can be bolted onto the car. Okay, so if needs be, I will run another video after this of the process that we go through. But hopefully, like I say, this has been useful for you guys. There's nothing here that concerns me. If you know of other things that fail on these, seals and stuff like that, I've had a look around it. I'll put some pictures also into the video, some close-ups, but there's nothing in there that I don't see that could be sourced for one of these. All right, so any comments, any feedback, write it below. I'll put some links on the video as well of some of the useful stuff that I found, and like I say, some close-up stills of some of the internal parts of this. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.